Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today it is Overreaction Monday, the first Overreaction Monday for the Pittsburgh Steelers during the 2024 campaign after taking that loss versus the Colts in Week 4. Today I got 6 takeaways after watching the film I think that going out of moving forward here for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're feeling pretty optimistic about this team's future, even though it wasn't a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination against the Colts. Before we get into my takeaways here, help us win the month of September in the AFC North. So this is the total amount of added subscribers for all 4 of our channels in the AFC North here at Chat Sports. And right now we are right behind the Browns Report, less than 20 subscribers away. Also, the Ravens Rundown is kind of on our heels as well, and the Bengals Breakdown is just a straight-up joke. Let's just call it what it is, 376 subs. Come on, Stone Shields, you can do better than that, my friend. Come on now, click that subscribe button right now to help us win and show the rest of the AFC North that we run this division. My first takeaway here on Overreaction Monday is that the Steelers need to name Justin Fields QB1. Now, I know there's some people that are advocating for Russell Wilson to play. They're like, the Steelers lost, and Fields had a turnover. That was a really bad turnover. And, granted, yes, the Steelers lost, and yes, Justin had a bad turnover in that game yesterday. But listen, man, with multiple injuries on the offensive line, the run game being as kind of lackadaisical as it has been to start this season. And then, of course, we know the problems at the wide receiver position. I think you need Justin Fields' ability to make plays off script, not only with his legs, but also with his arm. He was a big reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers were able to come back in yesterday's ballgame. And a lot of the big plays the Steelers had offensively was because of Justin Fields making plays off schedule. And that's, I think, what the Steelers need right now to remain functional on offense. I'm not sure if Russell Wilson still has that playmaking spark that made him a superstar in Seattle. Now, you look at the offensive line situation right now, and it's not looking fantastic. 3 offensive linemen that were starters for this football team at the time they were injured have been out for the season now. Nate Herbig had that torn pec. Troy Fautano is getting had surgery on his knee, and now James Daniels, who was announced today, will miss the season with an Achilles tear. So listen, man, you look at that right there, this offensive line is going to take its lumps for sure. So you're going to want a guy like Justin Fields that can make things happen outside of the pocket and make things happen off script. And then the run game here just hasn't been very good to this point. Now, whether you want to blame Arthur Smith, whether you want to blame the offensive line, whether you want to blame Najee Harris, right now the Steelers are only 3.7 yards per rush through the first 4 weeks, which currently ranks 25th in the National Football League. This is supposed to be a bruising run game, and right now Justin Fields is really the main engine of this offense at this point because the Steelers' run game for most of this year has been pretty lackadaisical. Then you get to the wide receiver position here, and you got George Pickens, who's fantastic, but Van Jefferson has the second most snaps at wide receiver for the Steelers this year, and it's just not very good, man. He's not productive whatsoever. Calvin Austin III is productive when he's on the field, but he doesn't get on the field all that much because he can't block, and Arthur Smith wants guys that can block as his number 2 receiver. And Roman Wilson, of course, is a healthy scratch. So right now you got pretty much George Pickens and then a bunch of nobodies helping him out here. Pat Freiermuth is getting in there in the mix as well. But right now, I mean, you got the offensive line that's in shambles. You got the run game that's not working to the way that you want it to work. And then you got the wide receiver room that has one legitimate receiver. And, I just think if you put Russell Wilson in there, who's not really an off-schedule playmaker at this point in his career, I'm just not sure if he's going to be able to thrive. Now, if this offensive line was working, if this run game was going, and they could really get the play-action game going for Russell Wilson, I think it'd be a different story. But right now, I just don't think that's the case. You need a quarterback like Justin Fields who can make things happen off schedule. You take a look at his numbers to this point, and despite all the problems that we've talked about on the Steelers offense, he's still completing over 70% of his passes. He is getting over 240 total yards of offense per game as the Steelers quarterback. He has 6 total touchdowns to 2 turnovers, which is a pretty darn good ratio right there, and I think that's only going to get better as the season goes on. And then you take a look at his game against the Indianapolis Colts yesterday. He had pretty darn good game, man. Over 300 yards passing. He added more to that as a rusher. He had 3 total touchdowns, 1 as a passer, 2 as a rusher. Completion percentage was still pretty good, and the only reason why it's not better is because he had to throw the ball a lot in the second half, and especially late into the game, and it's definitely more difficult to complete passes in that scenario than it is when you have a lead. And let's be real here. Justin Fields was not the reason why the Steelers lost that game yesterday. He just wasn't. And in fact, he was probably the biggest reason why they almost pulled off the win. I mean, he led 3 straight touchdown drives for this offense. And, he led those drives with him making big-time plays off schedule with his legs, picking up first downs, big-time accuracy throws down the field as well. He really showed his guts, and he showed his ability to potentially be able to lead a team back from a 2-3 possession deficit yesterday. And because of all those reasons, I think Justin Fields needs to be named the full-time starter for this football team when Mike Tomlin takes the podium tomorrow. So predict it for me down there in the comments section. Will Justin Fields be named the full-time QB1 by head coach Mike Tomlin tomorrow? Give me a yes or a no for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me a yes or a no. Another takeaway that I have from watching the film from yesterday's game is that, is it time to start talking about Najee Harris? Because, this team declined his 5th-year option. There's a lot of Steelers fans and a lot of people like me, pundits in the media, that were kind of shocked by that and surprised by that. But, you look at his numbers through the first couple of games here, first few games, and it's just like, it's not that great. And yesterday was supposed to be his day. Kwity Paye, one of the best run-stuffing edge rushers for the Colts, did not play. And, I think front seven for Indianapolis isn't all that great. And Najee Harris wasn't even your most effective rusher. It was Cordero Patterson who actually ended up having to leave the game with an ankle injury. So right now, Najee Harris is not a very efficient rusher of the football to this point in the year. Just 3.4 yards per carry. Currently ranks 46th in the National Football League. Now, I will say, Najee is an explosive back, but he's not really designed to be an explosive back. He doesn't have elite long speed. He doesn't have really an elite jump cut or anything that can make guys miss. Like what Najee does is he puts his head down and he gets you an extra 2 to 3 yards after contact, right? And, that can be very valuable in short yardage situations. I still think Najee has a very important role here with the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. But now that Jaylen Warren is dealing with his injuries, first it was the hamstring and now it's a knee, you don't have any juice at the position, and you had to rely on Cordero Patterson to provide that juice for you running the football yesterday. And you really, really hope that either Cordero or Jaylen gets back healthy here, because with just Najee Harris, I'm not sure how good this running game for the Pittsburgh Steelers can be, because at this point, he's pretty much a pure power back, and there's nothing wrong with that. The only issue is if you're the Steelers and you're trying to rely on this run game to be the main offensive engine and be the reason why you're scoring points, you need a little bit more juice, and you need somebody that's capable of really generating these big-time plays, and I'm not sure Najee Harris is that type of player. So coming up here on Steelers Talk, more Week 4 takeaways. I got 4 more for you guys to share before I say goodbye for the day. But before we get into the rest of my takeaways here from this Week 4 loss, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Game Time, which is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater in your area. And guys, we all know that experiencing a Steelers football game at Acrisure Stadium is unlike anything you can get from watching games on your couch, all right? And Game Time Picks is a brand new feature from our friends at Game Time, which filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. All you have to do to find the best tickets available anywhere on any ticketing site is you go to the Game Time app, find an event that you want to go to, you select the Game Time Picks button, and Game Time just filters every single ticket for that event through their special algorithm, and it's going to show you the best deals on the best seats, so you can always get the best tickets for you and your family whenever you go out to a Steelers game. So you guys can also get the lowest price guarantee on any ticket to any event on Game Time, so you guys can rest assured that everything you see on Game Time Picks, every single ticket on there has the lowest price guarantee. You also get the all-in pricing on Game Time, so you don't get slapped with crazy fees at checkout. And then also flash deals, you can get even cheaper tickets the closer you wait to game time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. That's one word, all caps, CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Another overreaction Monday takeaway from me here, guys, is who's to blame for the botched snap? And there's a lot of people that have been talking about that botched snap, right? You have the football with plenty of time to either tie the game with a field goal or win it with a touchdown in the first play. You go silent count, and it's completely botched, and it completely derails that potentially game-winning drive for the Pittsburgh Steelers and Justin Fields. Now, what happened was the Steelers went to a silent count, and what happens during a silent count is the left guard looks at the quarterback to give them the sign, and then they tap the center, and then the center snaps it to the quarterback. So that is the silent count from shotgun. Okay, and apparently, you look at the video and you look at everything that happened, it looks like Mason McCormick taps center Zach Frazier while Justin Fields is still kind of looking around, and then the ball gets snapped. So I do think that, Justin Fields and Mason McCormick are the two guys that I probably blame the most. Probably a little bit more on Mason because I think he tapped Zach too early before Fields was ready, but Fields does have to be ready to take the snap no matter what. He admitted as such in his post-game press conference. So if you want to put the blame on anybody for that botched snap, I'm going to put it on Mason McCormick. It was his first NFL game, his first time working that silent count with this offense, and he screwed up, I think. And then Justin Fields does have a little bit of the blame as well because he has to be ready for whatever comes his way. A little bit of an overreaction Monday takeaway here is I think you got to get Van Jefferson off the field. If you're head coach Mike Tomlin, I get that Van Jefferson is technically a fit for this Arthur Smith offense. He's a bigger guy. In theory, he should be able to be a better run blocker than guys like Calvin Austin III. But man, through 4 games, just 5 catches and 36 yards for your number 2 receiver. That is terrible. All right, and I'm rooting for Van Jefferson. I was willing to give him a shot heading into this year. You guys know that I was very optimistic about him after having a pretty darn good training camp. But, we're 4 weeks into this thing. We're almost a quarter away through the season now, and Van Jefferson has 5 catches for 36 yards, and he has the second most snaps of any receiver on this football team. That's not good enough. You need to replace him. Now, I don't think Calvin Austin III is Arthur Smith's ideal replacement because he likes to have guys that can block on the field at all times, especially on early downs. And Calvin Austin III, as much as he may try to be a good blocker, he just doesn't have the functional strength or size to be a good blocker at the wide receiver position. Now, he's definitely your second best receiver. I think week 3 versus the Chargers definitely showed that. He's extremely dynamic out in space. Definitely got to get the guy the football more, in my opinion, but he can't block, so he's not necessarily the best fit for Arthur Smith's offense. And because of that, I think a wide receiver move is just a matter of time here for the Pittsburgh Steelers, whether that's Cortland Sutton, DeAndre Hopkins, somebody else. The Steelers are going to make a move at the wide receiver position, and who knows, maybe once you put Roman Wilson out there, you finally have your number 2 receiver, and Mike Tomlin looks like an absolute idiot for sitting him for as long as he has sat him, right? So something's got to happen at the wide receiver position. I just think you got to get Van Jefferson off the field at this point. Then we get to Arthur Smith and the offense in general. You guys know that I was a big fan of the Arthur Smith hiring. I thought that it was a good hire at the time. Went into the season extremely, extremely optimistic. But watching it on film here, there's a lot of head-scratching stuff. I'm not sure if he's teaching stuff in the run game as well as he needs to be teaching it because people are out of place, all these different things. Now, you look at these numbers, and they're not phenomenal. They are top 10 in third down percentage. You can thank Justin Fields for that, by the way. Giveaways, they're top 10 there. They're protecting the football quite well, even though they didn't do that in week 4. But everything else, man, they're below league average in points per game, yards per play, and red zone efficiency. So all that, you really want to see that go up if the Steelers are going to be making a serious run at a Super Bowl this year. But to be clear, and I've been seeing this all over Steelers Twitter. I saw it on the watch party yesterday. People were saying, oh, this is Matt Canada all over again. No, it's not, all right? This is not Matt Canada. If you think that this offense looks like a Matt Canada offense, you weren't watching before because look at these numbers from Matt Canada's offense before. It was way, way worse, man. It was way, way worse. It was way down into the low 20s, even into bottom 3 in the league. This is not a Matt Canada offense. Arthur Smith is doing not the best job in the world, but it's a hell of a lot better than what we had with Matt Canada. Just wanted to put that out there. Final thing for Overreaction Monday here after watching the film from yesterday is that the defense is going to be just fine, guys, all right? I'm seeing a lot of people overreact to the defensive performance, giving up 27 points to Joe Flacco and the Colts. But I really thought that Shane Steichen came in with a really good game plan, especially early on. They got 17 unanswered points to start the game. And then after that, I thought the Steelers' defense actually played pretty well to finish out the game. And then you look at the numbers as a whole through these first 4 games. I mean, this is excellent, excellent production for the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, 2nd in points per game allowed, 4th in yards per game allowed, still top 10 in yards per play allowed. I mean, pretty much everything is top 10 on this list right now, and it's better than what it was last season. So I definitely have a lot of optimism for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. As we continue on here during this 2024 season, I particularly have a lot of confidence in the Steelers defense. Wasn't the best start for them, but they eventually got it going in the second half, made some big stops, got some 3-and-outs, gave the offense an opportunity to win the game at the very end. So at the end of the day here, guys, I still think this pass rush is very good. Still think that Joey Porter Jr. is a lockdown number 1 corner. There's certainly some things that they need to clean up on the defensive side of the ball, specifically defensive game plan-wise. But I think that overall, this is still one of the best, if not the best defense in the National Football League. So fill in the blank for me down there in the comments section. The Steelers have the blank best offense in football today. For me personally, I'm going to still say they have the first best defense in football today. Still think this defense is awesome. I think by season's end, they're going to be 1st, 2nd, or 3rd in most major categories. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. That's going to be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk. I will see you guys tomorrow, and until next time, here we go, Steelers.